first couldn't find the last source citation page in our 1AC. So the first piece of evidence we read was a study conducted that showed that in the year of 1997, there was a 10-year study at that point conducted, 1977 to around 87, where 150,000 criminals were released every year. Now the reason we cited this is because it's the most recent empirical study of how many criminals go free due to the exclusionary rule. To me, this 100% valid in today's debate round. The rule's been around for 50 years, so this is a good sample size right in the middle of when it's been around. We have no reason to believe that it's changed at all. Now the next one's from Tondra Jacoby. Now we read several pieces of evidence in our 1AC from Tondra Jacoby, and this was written post-2012, 100% relevant. And then the next one that they said made a big deal about how it was written in 1971. This was a very brief quote from Chief Justice Warren Burger, simply saying that he thought the exclusionary rule was invalid and unjustified in the current system. So if you want, you can even throw that quote out. It was a very short quote that we just liked how it sounds, honestly. And then the last one by Max Boot is post-2013, which is again 100% relevant. So dates are absolutely not an issue in today's debate round, but I wanted to clear that up for you. So jumping right in, there's three main issues I think this debate round has come down to. The first is the question of whether or not officers are actually deterred. The second is what your Fourth Amendment rights will be after the affirmative team is passed. And thirdly, is the affirmative team's claim significant in today's world? So starting off with whether or not officers are actually deterred. Evidence from Tondra Jacoby in 2012 states, quote, the claim that police are deterred from violating the Fourth Amendment due to the operation of the exclusionary rule assumes that police have the requisite information and incentives to be deterred. In fact, the evidence shows that police do not generally know the law that they are meant to apply, nor the consequences of its breach. In addition, the consequences are only tangentially related to police incentives. Police performance is measured in terms of arrest, not conviction. So, now I want to take a step back. Yes, this evidence is absolutely saying that police officers are not deterred by the exclusionary rule, okay? But the thing is in today's debate round, the negative team comes up and reads you a piece of evidence saying police officers are deterred. We come back and read you more rhetoric saying that it's not deterred. So what this round has come down to is rhetoric versus rhetoric, because both teams agree there have not been empirical studies done to actually show whether or not police officers have been deterred. So if you have rhetoric on both sides of the equation, what you have to look at is logic. Logically, are these police officers going to be deterred? What incentives do they have put in place by the exclusionary rule that would possibly render that as a fact? But when we look at the logic, when we look at the cost-benefit analysis, there is no incentive for them to do so. Because in the situation in the current system, like the negative team pointed out, there are many times where there are exceptions made to the exclusionary rule. So as a police officer, if you use subversive tactics and violate someone's Fourth Amendment rights, but you get evidence convicting someone, most likely it'll be used in the court case. But if it's not, all you have to do is perjure yourself on the stand, and you won't be convicted of it, and all you do is you go up there and you lie, and the criminal still gets behind bars. At the end of the day, there's no reason why they need to change their behavior, and they don't even know the laws of how they're going to, and they don't know that their evidence is excluded. Ultimately, all the logical paths that we can take regarding the exclusionary rule point to the fact that there is absolutely no deterrence mechanism. They have not responded logically to how the exclusionary rule provides an incentive for police officers. As the evidence mentioned, police officers focus on arrest, not conviction. That is how their success is garnered. Now, number two, that of what your Fourth Amendment rights will look like after the affirmative team's passed. First of all, it's very important to point out that the Fourth Amendment will still exist after the affirmative team's plan is passed. It will be 100% illegal for a police officer to violate your Fourth Amendment rights. That is in no way going to be legal after the affirmative team's plan is passed. It's just pointing out that in the current system, the exclusionary rule meant to protect the Fourth Amendment rights hasn't done any good to do that. And so if it hasn't achieved that objective, when you abolish it, you're going to have the same situation. You have your Fourth Amendment rights, but there won't be the exclusionary rule letting police officers go at the same time. But it is worth noting that there are alternative remedies in the current system. If you did have your Fourth Amendment rights violated, you could sue the police officer in court. Also, the Department of Justice when there are several complaints made about a police department where an officer may have conducted multiple repeat offenses, the Department of Justice will actually investigate that department and make sure that reform is happening. And there's evidence to support this. This is from Frontline in 2015. And it says that Frontline reached out to every law enforcement agency that has been investigated by the Justice Department for civil rights abuses. Most of those who entered into agreement said the process had improved the department in terms of training, equipment, and best practices. So you can see that the current system does provide alternate remedies for that. And lastly, that of significance. Does our claim even matter? First of all, 150,000 criminals going away every year is significant. Police perjury, we have evidence to support, is 50% more likely with the exclusionary rule. And that in a jury situation, a juror is 41% more likely to convict someone than they should be due to the exclusionary rule. In every way, we are 100% significant. That's why I strongly urge an affirmative ballot. Thank you.
How much prep time